listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Mutual Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and in Europe on Radio X. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can find out what's going on here on the X-Zone Radio Show by going to our website, xzoneradio.com. Don't forget X-Zone Nation, as I have been promoting all night tonight. For you, the members of the X-Zone Nation, we have something very special. If you go to www.xzonetv.com, we have opened up Season 1, which was 2015, the 12 episodes of the X-Zone TV show, with our compliments. Once again, that's at www.xzonetv.com. My guest this hour is Candace Talmadge. We've had the pleasure of having Candace on the show before. We're going to be talking tonight about Candace's new book, The After Healing Circle, How Anyone Can Contact the Other Side. It was published in 2015 by New Page Books with a foreword by Dr. Raymond Moody, who we've also had here on the show. Now, life after death. People talk about it each and every day. Now, apparently, of the 2.4 million plus deaths every year in the United States, more than 41%, or in excess of 1 million, are unexpected, and that's according to itsmylife.com. In a few cases, those who die are household names such as rock legend Prince, Hundreds of millions of fans worldwide are mourning his passing. The majority of those who die are not known except to loved ones. Famous or obscure, unexpected deaths leave behind unfinished business beyond practical considerations such as wills or burial wishes. This business is emotional, not being able to say goodbye or I love you. Things left unsaid can keep survivors locked in grief for years. Take Clara, a woman whose story of mourning her dead mother for 2 decades is recounted in The After Healing Circle, How Anyone Can Contact the Other Side. Joining me now to talk about this and much more is the co-author of this book, as well as a good friend of the X Zone, Candace Talmadge. And Candace, welcome back to the X Zone.
Well, thank you, Rob. It's so great to be back.
Congratulations on your book. And, you know, it seems that communication with the dead, I should say, is more and more popular today than it was 5-10 years ago. More and more people believe that it is possible to communicate with the dead. And are you finding this out when you're going out talking to people, doing your lectures, doing your symposiums, that this otherwise taboo subject is now part of everyday living?
Yes, and I think it's because of what I call the afterlife movement. All right, it started with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross back in the late 60s and got really into full gear when Dr. Moody published his groundbreaking book, Life After Life.
Yes.
And it's really a movement that, as the decades passed and more evidence compiles, there was a survey. They pulled information from the social survey, and it was led by the University of San Diego and a couple of other institutions. And the psychologists and sociologists pored over this, and they came up and said, yes, people may not believe in God, but they do believe in some sort of afterlife. And to me, that is direct evidence that this movement, and I say that is a loose term, this movement really has gained ground and captured people's attention and presented evidence that is very convincing. The afterlife experiments out of the University of Arizona, led by Dr. Gary Schwartz, I've read that book, and it's, he's preaching to the choir with me, but it's extremely compelling evidence, and it certainly turned his world around. He came in as a skeptic, and he's now a believer.
Candace, stand by, dear. You and I have to take our news break. No, not our news break, our first break this hour. X Zone Nation Candace Talmadge is our guest. Check out this website, www.thehealingcirclebook.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Candace and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away. Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Wilda Wiecka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Wilda Wiecka, and the Science of Magic right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information, and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com. Welcome back, everyone. Candace Talmadge is our special guest this hour. We're talking about Candace's book that she co-authored. It's entitled The After Healing Circle, How Anyone Can Contact the Other Side. Her website is www.thehealingcirclebook.com. When should one try to connect with the other side, Candace?
When there is unfinished emotional business, when you have a real connection with the person who has died, all right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Prince's death, people mourned him, but the feeling, unless it was one of his friends or family members, the feeling was not reciprocated. So you are tempted to use the Afterlife Healing Circle to contact Prince because you really loved his music and
Sure.
you want him to let him know. But the fact is that you probably won't get Prince. You might get some sort of deluded soul who thinks he's Prince, but not the real Prince, because there has to be a two-way emotional connection between the person who comes in to ask for a circle, the person we call the inquirer, mm-hmm. and the soul who the person would like to connect with. So there really has to be a valid emotional and that unfinished business that you were talking about at the start. That is the need, and if it's genuine and there's that reciprocal tie, then the Afterlife Healing Circle is a very valid way. It's only one way, but it's a very valid way to try to make that connection and resolve that unfinished business.
So these people who claim that they've been communicating with the other side, they've communicated with John Lennon, they've communicated with Princess Diana, and so on. Do you mean that unless they have had a connection with this person while they were alive, that they're just basically sending out a lot of hot air.
Well, I can't tell one way or the other. I can't prove it one way or the other.
Okay.
What I will say is that if they communicated with the soul may be pretending to be the person they wanted to reach. Again, it's because, think about it. Rob, if you were walking down the street and a group of people said, Rob, over here, come on over here, we want to talk to you. And there was someone in that circle you knew and you cared about, you go on over. Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
But if it's a group of total strangers and they started calling out, Rob, come over here, you'd go, and you might just sort of walk away at a little faster clip.
Not me, I'd go over.
You'd go over. Well, you're probably friendlier than I am. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a total stranger on Earth, then you're a stranger in the afterlife, which doesn't mean you can't make friends either here on Earth or in the afterlife. But you're not as likely to get the soul that you really care about and want to connect with unless you have that reciprocating tie, that emotional connection, and it's two ways. And honestly, you know, people who do Ouija boards or they just sort of sit up and go, is anybody here? You know, guess what? They'll find someone, and they might not like what they find, because just as there are people who have less than savory intent on Earth, there are souls with less than wholesome intent on the other side.
Why would a soul on the other side impersonate the soul of someone that is being sought? Like, aren't there any rules and regulations what you're supposed to do, what you can do, and what you can't do when you're a soul? Or is it a basic free-for-all?
Well, it's sort of like on Earth. Why would someone in a physical body impersonate someone else? All right? There are a million reasons. Same thing in the afterlife. I think, Rob, one of the things here we're not talking about is this myth or misunderstanding that when you die, you become all perfected, all enlightened, all knowing. What researchers have found, to their great surprise, because that myth is rather pervasive, is that souls are just like us, except they don't have bodies we can perceive as physical. So whatever wisdom you left this planet with, you have it in the afterlife. But whatever issues and whatever limitations you have here, you still have there.
Wow.
You know, Arthur Ford used to say, you don't get no smarter just because you crossed over. And that's true, you don't. So, yeah, souls in the afterlife, maybe they're just wanting to play head games with these people. Who knows?
But what happens if you try to connect with a soul on the other side who has already returned in a reincarnation?
Well, the interesting thing is that I call it soul-to-soul communication. And it doesn't matter. In fact, in my healing work, I often do soul-to-soul communication, or help my clients do that, with people who are still in a physical body. All right? They're people they have issues with and they need resolved. So it doesn't really matter. The difference is that if you have crossed over, if your physical body is dead, you do not have the chance to sit down face-to-face and have that talk. You have to communicate at the soul-to-soul level. But whether or not that person is in a physical body really doesn't matter. You always are a soul. You always have the chance to communicate through those beautiful soul senses. It's just that you need something like the Afterlife Healing Circle if one party doesn't have a physical body.
Exonation, Candace Talmadge is our special guest this hour. www.thehealingcirclebook.com. Candace, how is the best technique to be used by someone who, for the right reason, is trying to contact a soul on the other side?
Well, I love the Afterlife Healing Circle, but there are other techniques. There's the mirror gazing that Dr. Moody's book Reunions talks about. There's also a chance that the soul will want to contact you in a dream, and that's another way. But the issue is that people are so astonished that they've been contacted by someone who's quote-unquote dead that they sometimes have trouble having just a simple conversation. They're like, oh, I'm talking to this ghost or the soul, oh my, and they don't say, okay, what is it that I need to say? What did I want to say? What's my unfinished business? When you have the Afterlife Healing Circle, you have a small group of supporters who are there. They're getting the same information you are at the same time, and they're helping you fill in those blanks and flesh out the conversation so whatever the two parties need to say to each other, they can say it. That's what I love about the Afterlife Healing Circle.
When you're doing an Afterlife Healing Circle, has it ever happened where the soul has materialized and you can see the person?
No, that has not happened in the circles that I have attended. We one time had this one, we used to do them with these swivel chairs that are very comfortable because you can kind of, if you're in a circle, they've got armchair, you can get real comfortable because you're in that position for about 45 minutes, and sometimes it gets a little uncomfortable. Well, we were on a perfectly level floor and nobody's other chair, but the inquirer's chair, when she put her feet up, it would swivel back and forth. Nobody else's chair was moving but hers was doing that. But as soon as we asked our guardian angels, our spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, to protect us and got going in the circle, that kind of stuff stopped. So I'm not really into phenomenalistic stuff, all right? I don't need a soul to materialize to know in my heart that we've connected and the emotional resolution has transpired, because that's the difference between what I do and what, say, a researcher does, all right, Rob? Researchers try to go for quote-unquote facts. They try to prove things. I'm a healer. I'm interested in whether or not the person who came, the inquirer, can connect with that soul and in whatever way and in whatever form get some healing resolution. That's my purpose in offering the Afterlife Healing Circle. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. I don't think I can. Personally, I don't think any scientist can either.
True.
I think people are going to believe what they want to believe. All right. But I think once you sit in that circle and you experience getting a vision or getting a feeling or hearing somebody whisper in your ear or getting a thought pop into your head that the inquirer says yes to, meaning it means something to the inquirer, and then you help the inquirer start to connect with that soul and say, I love you. I didn't mean to yell at you, before this soul walked out the door and died in a car accident or whatever it was. When you feel that, when you experience it, as one person was talking about, when you fill in each other's blanks, when you're in that circle, then emotionally you convince yourself. And facts really aren't the issue anymore. It's what you've felt, what you've experienced that's real to you.
And you and I and the members of the X-Zone Nation know that the power of belief is the strongest power in the universe. It moves mountains.
Absolutely.
Is there any age limit that you would put on when it comes to people trying to communicate with the other side?
Actually, I think I would, as long as a parent or guardian was with them, I would do it for, say, a teen in like 14 or up.
Right.
All right? I don't know if younger children can do it, but as long as a parent or guardian is with them, maybe the teen and his or her mother wants to connect with a deceased father, that would be perfectly appropriate for me. As long as someone there, an adult who's responsible for the child, is there, then I would work with them. But again, it's really, is this person able to understand what death means, and does this person have a genuine emotional connection to the soul they want to connect with?
You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Candace, please stand by. X-Zone Nation, Candace Talmadge is our special guest this hour. And Candace is the co-author of a book that, well, if you're interested in connecting with the other side, or if you know someone who needs that final closure, the book is entitled the Afterlife Healing Circle, how anyone can connect to the other side. And Candace's website is www.thehealingcirclebook.com. Candace and I return on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Thomas Jefferson was a Burgess of 27 when he met Martha Wales Skelton, a 22-year-old widowed heiress who was fondly called Patty by her family. They were married on January the 1st, 1772, and they took up residence in a cabin on the building site on top of a Virginia mountain that Thomas had named Monticello. As Thomas and Patty slowly built their first version of the great house at Monticello, the Revolutionary War was heating up. Patty, with difficulty, bore 5 children, but only 2 girls survived. Thomas's political career developed to the point where he was often away from home, but after he authored and signed the Declaration of Independence in Philadelphia, he resolved never again to leave his wife. He was elected the governor of Virginia, just as that state became the Revolution's last battleground. The Revolutionary War ended in 1781, and Thomas gladly retired altogether to my family, my farm, and my books. But Patty continued to want to bear her treasured husband a son, and late in the summer of 1782, she died of kidney failure at the age of 33, 4 months after having borne yet another girl. Thomas was so devastated by her death that he never remarried. He mourned her for the rest of his life, even as he helped to frame the peace in France and then became the first Secretary of State, the second Vice President, and the third President of the United States. This story is true. Thomas Jefferson was such an obsessive letter writer and record keeper that we know where he was and what he was doing nearly every day of his adult life. Every significant thing he says in My Thomas comes from his contemporary writings. My Thomas by Roberta Grimes is now available at Barnes & Noble, Costco, Target, Books A Million, Hudson Booksellers, Kmart, Walmart, Sam's Club, Walgreens, CVS, and online at Amazon.com. You can visit Roberta Grimes online at www.robertagrimes.com.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State-certified occupational school, training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Unwilling to be the government's deadly assassin, gifted psychic Clara Mitchell went AWOL and ended up buried under rubble in the wake of a great tsunami. She regained consciousness far from Earth on the medical ship of a Daguerrean intergalactic fleet. Has she been rescued or abducted by aliens? The Chalice of Carrie, Kahira O'Donnell's latest paranormal science fiction romance, is the passionate story of an Earth woman and her destined mates, twin kings from another galaxy. Kahara uses her gifts fighting alongside Lords Rom and Ra in a war that will determine the destiny of galaxies. The Chalice of Carrie by Kahira O'Donnell is now available at KahiraO'Donnell.com or at Amazon.com. You're listening to the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. What Happened in Benghazi is revealed by Nicholas Genix, author of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. He informs the American people that President Obama deceived them by advocating a strong foreign policy prior to the 2012 presidential election, and Hillary Clinton supported this deception. As the title infers, there is a connection between Obama, Islam, and Benghazi. Ample evidence informs Americans that Obama's early indoctrination in the Quran developed an affinity for Islam, why the Quran is the source of discontent in many countries, and why the Obama foreign policy deception led to poor military action and caused the loss of American lives in Benghazi. Genix provides 36 questions for the Select Committee on Benghazi to validate if Americans are justified to mistrust President Obama and Hillary Clinton. An overview of Obama, Islam, and Benghazi is presented on the website www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. Annie Callahan, dedicated to negotiating a position for Earth within the Daguerrean Coalition, had trained for 3 years to become an Earth ambassador. Yet, the very eve of her arrival at the capital ruling planet, she is claimed as destined mate to an oversized, mating-maddened vamp who swears he will never release her. Lord Aztaran, king of the Macian sector, has waited over 900 years for his destined mate. Having found her as an alpha vamp, he is unable to relinquish Annie, virtually holding her hostage until he can claim her. Yet Macians cannot survive without their mate's love. How could he strip her of her citizenship, her ambassadorship, and her freedom and expect to win her heart? With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is the latest book in this exciting series, The Daguerrean Chronicles, guaranteed to keep readers coming back for more. With All That I Am by Kahira O'Donnell is available on Amazon.com and KahiraO'Donnell.com. Candace, when it comes to people who want to participate in an afterlife healing circle, do you find that there is one demographic that is more predominant than the other? For example, do more women want to participate in the healing circle, or do more men want to participate in it?
I have found that it's been my experience and Jana's experience that most of our clients, not all of them, most of those who've come to us have been women. All right? I don't know why that is, but I think they're more open to looking for help when they have unresolved emotional issues. They don't seem to ignore them as easily as guys do. They tend to want to just sort of compartmentalize that into some area. But not all our clients have been women.
Can you share with us any stories, any of the positive work that you have seen yourself when it comes to people who have participated in the afterlife healing circles?
Well, Clara, the woman you started talking about, she's one of the stories in the book, and that was actually the first circle I attended. And it was really, really very powerful. This woman had mourned her mother for 2 decades. She had been through daily psychiatric sessions. She'd been through psychotherapy. And she'd gotten a lot of help from both types of therapy, but none of the doctors or psychologists had been able to help her heal the wound of her mother's death. So her daughter is actually one of Jana's clients, student or client or some such relationship, and she mentioned that her mom had this problem, and Jana said, well, look, we can do a circle for your mother. Talk to her about it. So Clara told me as soon as she heard it, that was it. She wanted to do it. So we went through this circle. It was amazing. I mean, if I'd had socks on, they would have been blown off. And everybody benefited. It wasn't just Clara's healing, although Clara definitely got a lot out of it. I benefited, Jana benefited, all the people who were in that small circle really benefited. Because, see, that's the blessing of the healing circle. It doesn't just help the inquirer and the soul in question. That's what we call the soul the inquirer wants to contact. Everybody who participates, everybody who experiences the love that goes around the circle, everybody who gets information and shares it and compares notes and supports the inquirer, everybody gets a healing and an uplifting. I mean, it is an amazing experience. You just, it's just wonderful. You want to do it as much as you can, but then you also, we also try to keep it for genuine reasons. But it's to me, it's a celebration. To me, it's an act of worship in the sense that it celebrates the fact that we really don't die. All right, our physical body may die, but the essence of who we are goes on. It continues. It is eternal.
How does the afterlife healing circle work?
It works because, there's a person called a conductor, and they're sort of the anchor of the group. And the conductor gets a request from the inquirer. I need to talk to X, Y, and Z. Although you try to say, don't tell me. You just have a need you've got, and you talk to them about what kind of relationship you had with this soul. Doesn't matter, that kind of thing. What do you want to get out of this circle? And when the conductor is satisfied that the inquirer has a genuine need, then the conductor invites a few people, and they get into a circle, and the conductor explains that you're going to be getting intuitive information through your intuition or psychic senses or whatever you want to call it. I don't care. It may seem strange. It's not for you. It's for the inquirer. And the inquirer is told people will start verbalizing information. Say one of 3 things: yes, no, or I don't know. So the souls, and again, the most important part is that you ask your spirit guides. Everybody in the group has spirit guides, and you ask for protection. And you ask that only the soul in question, the soul the inquirer wants to connect with, is allowed into the circle. And once you do that, you can do it very safely, and you get involved with any head game players or people, souls impersonating other souls. You don't have any of that nonsense. The spirit guides just allow that soul in. The inquirer calls the soul in. And souls seem to recognize that the inquirer will need some sort of evidentiary information, things that only the soul and the inquirer would know. And so the first part of the circle is, remember that time when I, whatever, Here's a good example. In one circle that Jana was in, The guy sitting next to her, she felt intuitively that he kept getting some information, but he was holding back. So she said, "Come on, you've got something." He said, "Well, it doesn't make any sense. It's a picket fence, but it's not upright. It's on its side." And the woman who came gasped and said, "Now I know my son is here." And that was a piece of information that only she and her son would have known. Years before, when he was a boy, he took a picket fence, turned it on its side, and nailed it to the trunk of a tree so that his dog could join him in his treehouse. So that's the kind of information that souls will send, and that's the purpose of the people, to help bring that information through. And once the inquirer is convinced that, yes, the soul is here, I want to connect with, then the people who are there help the inquirer and the soul communicate, because sometimes it's usually very emotional, and lots of tears are flowing. So usually the inquirer needs a little help to say what he or she wants to say and get through and hear in the words of the participants what the soul wants to say to him or her.
So the other people that are partaking in the circle are there for moral support?
They're there for moral support, but they're also there for practical help. All right? They become intuitive receptors. They get information. They pass it on. They also add their love. Because the unique thing about the circle is that we make a conscious effort, directed effort, to send love to everybody in the circle and love to the soul in question. It's that love that makes the circle such a profound experience, and everybody loves it. And you really just sort of lap it up, because it sets up a beautiful, peaceful, loving environment that's very safe and very welcoming. And that's why people can feel like they can come and unburden themselves of grief that perhaps has lasted decades.
How does the soul know that you're having your circle?
Well, it's sort of like, how do you know that someone's thinking about you, or, maybe on the other side, you are not burdened by a conscious mind. And even if you're in a physical body, when people think about you, it rings your bell. Although if you have a conscious mind, it's sort of hidden. You don't really consciously aware of it, but you kind of know in the back at that unconscious level. Well, you're much more aware of things, summonses like that, when you're on the other side, because you are not in a physical body and you don't have that conscious mind blocking the signal or, that kind of thing. So they ring your bell, and they call out your name, and you hear it. I mean, that's the neat thing. Ruth Montgomery, I listened to her many years ago. She was in town where I was and talking, and she said that souls know, they can hear, they can feel when you pray for them, talk about them, think about them. And that's quite true. They can.
So would it be the more people who participate in a circle, the stronger the connection with the soul on the other side would be?
Well, up to a point. After about 8 people, you kind of get diminishing returns because everybody keeps sitting and waiting for the other person to speak up.
I see.
So you want about 4 to 8 people, all right? You want to make it so that it's there's plenty of love and there's plenty of support, but there's not so much that people can kind of fade into the woodwork, so to speak. You want everybody to be an active participant and pump that love and get that information and verbalize it, because it doesn't really matter. If the person says, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. The more you speak, the more the information comes, and pretty soon you've helped the person, who's the inquirer, you help them become convinced that this is the soul they want to speak with.
Is there any downside of the circle?
Well, the only downside I can think of is that sometimes inquirers come with expectations that aren't met. One time we had an inquirer who had a very specific emotional memory of a day, and the soul, I mean, literally, I saw that soul just throw up his hands in frustration and say, I don't know what you're talking about. It didn't mean the same thing to me.
Yeah.
So the inquirer admitted, yep, this is the soul I wanted to speak to, but she left very frustrated because the soul hadn't shared the same emotional response to that particular moment on that particular day that she had. So,
do souls get frustrated often, or is it very rare?
Well, I think that souls who are not in a physical body can get frustrated as often as we in physical bodies can. All right? They have lives. What they're doing, and there's as many ways to live in the afterlife, even more than there are ways to live on Earth. And just as life on Earth can be frustrating or beautiful, life after life can be frustrating or beautiful. It's all a journey.
What do we know about the other side?
Well, I think that when people bring back their reports of having died and gone to heaven, or died and seen, gone through their life review or everything, it's kind of like dipping a dipstick into a pond. You get a sample, but it's not the whole picture, all right? So all I can say to people who are like, what's life like on the other side, is to say, what's life like on Earth? Except it has fewer limitations than life on Earth. So we can expect that life on the other side will be good, bad, boring, exciting, happy, sad. But they're I've often asked my spirit guides, why do people come back in the physical? And one of the reasons that they tell me is that on Earth, with a slower vibration, which is what forms things that we perceive as physical, it is a different intensity of sensation and a different intensity of learning. And that can be very helpful for souls. And of course, one of the lessons that's specific to this particular planet is releasing fear. All right? Everybody on this planet, at some point, at some level, for over something, has fear. And one of the things that we work on here is A, fear, and B, taking back our power. And that's another reason that I love the Afterlife Healing Circle. It is what I call grassroots spirituality. It is spirituality from the bottom up, not the top down. We do it ourselves in our own way. And it shows people that, wow, yeah, I can actually do this myself. I may need help at sometimes, but I don't have to have a medium or a psychic help me connect with people I need to resolve issues with. I can do this myself, or I can help other people do it, and that's also very empowering.
How long does the average healing circle per person take? About 45 minutes?
At least 45 minutes. Usually, some have gone longer, at 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Some go really quickly. I mean, it's there. They know it's there. They can feel it. They're convinced. Everybody's happy, and it's done. Other times, there's a little bit of back and forth as the soul says, okay, what kind of information can I send that will help this person be convinced it's really me? It's me. Because, again, they don't have a physical body. You can't hear their voice. So they have to try to find some piece of information that's uniquely known between them and the inquirer, and it can come through to the other people. They will voice it, and then the inquirer will say, okay, yeah, I'm convinced the soul is here. So that can sometimes take a little bit of time.
Is there any question that is taboo when communicating with the other side?
I think it depends on the soul.
I see.
All right? Some subjects are, souls have issues with, and they don't want to hear about it, just like some people have issues with certain subjects, and they don't want to hear about it.
Right.
So again, it's not a question of it's taboo because they're on the other side. It's a question of it may be taboo or delicate or whatever because of that soul's particular issues or the inquirer's particular issues.
What happens if the soul just doesn't want to speak to the person?
You don't get any resolution. That's what happens. I mean, nothing untoward will happen. It might be very frustrating. I have found that usually souls are eager. If a person on this side is eager for resolution with someone, that soul is probably just as if not more eager for resolution, especially, like I said, when there's that two-way emotional connection. There's some unfinished business, and it's not just unfinished for this person on this side. It is unfinished for the soul on that side. You know, the woman with the picket fence?
Yes.
Her son, she could not get anybody to investigate her son's death because he was murdered in a drug deal gone bad, and frankly, no one cared. All right? Just another druggie killed. So she tried the state police, she tried the local police, nothing. So, you know, and this woman was a good Baptist, all right? She was not into this devil worship stuff, but she was desperate. And what her son truly wanted to say to her was, Mother, let it go. The guys who killed me are bad. I held money back on them. They found out and they killed me. They will kill you if you poke around. Let it go. Go on. I'm okay. He needed to tell her that. She needed to hear it.
Had he tried to communicate with her in the past?
I do not know. But I do know that she, you know, Jana reports, this is one Jana was part of. Jana reports that she really was going from pillar to post, trying to get somebody to investigate it. And nobody would do it. And she was desperate and frustrated.
X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Candace Talmadge, along with Jana L. Simons. They've written The Afterlife Healing Circle. How anyone can contact the other side. The website is www.thehealingcirclebook.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X-Zone. Don't go away.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement.
These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. Welcome back, everyone. Candace Talmadge is our special guest, along with Jana L. Simons. She's written a very interesting book, a book that teaches you, that lets you know that there is no such thing as a final goodbye. You don't have to have the regret of not being able to have said I love you, or given someone who has passed on to the other side. You know, you don't have to live with guilt. You don't have to live with sorrow. And this book will help you understand on how you can connect with the other side. Candace, as always, a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on the X Zone. And I was wondering if you could share with the X Zone Nation around the world your thoughts on connecting with the other side.
Well, my thought is that if you have a legitimate need and a two-way emotional tie to the soul you want to connect with, then you have every right to do it, and you that soul probably needs it as much as you do. So find some way to do it. Maybe it's through the Afterlife Healing Circle, maybe it's through mirror gazing, maybe it's just in a dream or asking that soul to send you a sign. I don't really care. What I want for you is to get the resolution that you need and deserve.
Now, where can people get copies of your book, dear?
Well, it's on Amazon. It's available online. They can order it through a bookstore. It's available in paperback and ebook versions. It's not hard to find. And if you go to my website, we have links to all that kind of good stuff.
Excellent. What's next in line for you, Candace? What are you going to be up to next?
Well, I'd like to say no good, but it'll probably just be. But it'll probably just be writing more of my fiction series, and right now I'm working on a chapter to contribute to another book on attraction. So, lots of stuff like that.
We live in a very perplexed world these days. It seems that each and every day tensions are, just increasing. We have the conflicts in the Middle East. We have Russia flexing its might. We have North Korea tampering with nuclear weapons. We have China that has ticked off the United States because the United States is just following international law. How do you see this as it might relate to how the other side perceives what's going on this side of the veil?
Well, I'm sure that they're aware of it. It's probably just as perplexing to some of them, especially if they're spirit guides with people who are involved in the thick of it. I think that some of them come back because they want to help. All right? That's definitely to be of service, to try to bring peace and healing.
Right.
So, all I can say is that when you are as aware of the continuity of life as I have become through my work as an energy healer and through the Afterlife Healing Circle, this doesn't seem like it sort of has a little perspective on it, let's put it that way.
Candace, thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time you join us back here in the X Zone. And please, don't let it be so long.
Thank you, Rob. I will be glad to be back.
Take care of yourself, Candace, and my congratulations to your co-author, Jana L. Simons, as well. Well, that's it for tonight, X Zone Nation. I want to take this opportunity of thanking each and every one of you for being part of the show and for allowing us to enter your home, your car, no matter where you are. We are our brother's keepers. So if you can help somebody out, whether it be by giving them money, food, clothing, or whatever, just giving them a smile, please do. And until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. Good night, everyone.